Hi brothers and sisters, I'd like to share information. This is a channeled information. As you know, the people that are still asleep, it is time for you to know that we are not alone. We also have caretakers of this planet. And since the law is no interference for evolving human race. We are the young evolving race. And the universal law is do not interfere if you are not being invited. So, as the caretaker of this planet, they just take notes on what's going on here. All the agendas, all the plans and actions of our governments, the black governments, everything was recorded. So they know who's doing who and what doing what. So here's a channeled information to let us know about our illegal government, which is the federal government, which is a similar government of the United States of America, but it is a similar, but really it is not part of the United States of America because it is in Washington, D.C. So they had been ruling us, manipulating us, buried us in debt so that our leaders could not disagree, or they were forced to obey their law. But we the people must know that it is time to know the truth, that we have two governments, the United States of America Republic, which was created by the state, for the states, for the people, by the people, for the people. So this, another one is the federal government, which is a corporation and not part of the United States of America. But they buried us in debt so that we become powerless. So our leaders long time ago became a puppet, and the new leaders just following the past. They don't really know. So here's the information I'd like to share. Why the Fed and the national debt are illegal. It says here that we must understand that when the Federal Reserve Bank, the privately owned Federal Reserve Bank, was given authority to print Federal Reserve notes instead of the Treasury Department. Instead of Treasury Department writing the Treasury notes as directed by the U.S. Constitution, these Federal Reserve notes were not printed to be given out to the economy in the ways as the Treasury notes of the Treasury Department. Rather, they were loaned to the U.S. government and then circulated into society, and society was required to pay back interest on the IRS notes, and that amount of interest accumulated to the point of 15 trillion in debts, now over 15 trillion in debts, to where if everything in the United States were sold, half of the debt would still be owed. This is what they say, and it says the Treasury Department has the potential for totally denouncing the Federal Reserve debt of over $15 trillion. because it was illegal in the first place. The Treasury Department in the U.S. Constitution is the only proper way of financing the nation. Congress, operating the Treasury Department, has the right to mint and coin money and set the value. In fact, the Federal Reserve was never given any such a right, even with the vote of the Congress, because Congress did not have the right to relegate its obligations to the Federal Reserve. Therefore, the entire debt of over $15 trillion. Again, Congress did not have the right to relegate its obligations to the Federal Reserve. Therefore, the entire debt of over $15 trillion, because it was illegal in the first place. It is not forcible in a technical sense. The District of Columbia loophole. Another factor is that because the U.S. government is situated in the District of Columbia, which is not part of the United States, it is essentially, according to Black's Law Dictionary, a different nation entirely. See that? According to Black's Law Dictionary, the District of Columbia is a different nation entirely. It is a federal nation which rules over the District of Columbia. It has no real jurisdiction over the rest of the United States in a technical sense, and to pass laws taxing another country, such as the United States, is technically and legally in error. We are being taxed by a foreign country. It is not right. Can you believe that? We are being taxed by a foreign country. And they said it is not right. And I agree. Do you agree? If you look at it from a legal and technical sense, it is not right. Therefore, in the creation of the United States with a capital situated in the District of Columbia, which was not a state, an error by the founding fathers occurred, but this error has had benefits for the Rothschilds in that it has allowed them to break the rules of the Constitution without fear of being charged for treason, betrayal. So the Rothschilds do not feel that they will be charged for treason, because these entities are not operating from the United States, from within the United States. They are operating in a different country. So, they can pass off their obligations to a Federal Reserve. Let me read it again. It says, they can pass off their obligations to the Federal Reserve Board, a Federal Reserve Bank. They can make rules of taxations against the masses, which would constitutionally prohibited. It is indeed a situation in which the Rothschilds took total advantage of the loopholes or the mistake by the founding fathers of creating the seat of the government in a non-state, in a District of Columbia. Once the Federal Reserve was created, people of the government needing money would only borrow from the Federal Reserve Bank. The Federal Reserve Bank only had to go to the Treasury Department and get money, printed at printing cost, and then loaned the money out at a full face value, thus making enormous profits and putting this nation into enormous debt. They said, the national debt is not a legal debt. The debt that is known as the national debt of so many $1 trillion is simply the result of borrowing from the Federal Reserve Bank, the money that the Treasury Department prints for them, which is used to print for the country. In other words, instead of being printed for the United States, it is printed for the foreign bankers, and the United States borrows from them and owes them the national debt. And the national debt is so high now that our grandchildren will never be able to pay it off. That's correct. Our grandchildren will not be able to pay this thing off. So the debt is so high because of the interest. Now, it is so high now. From 5 trillion in 1994 or something like that to the present 15 trillion. The country will be bankrupt again. This time, this is the reason they want to take this country totally. It is likened to a person whose goods broke, they, like, everyone's bankrupt now. They have nothing. But they said, like, you can compare this as an example that when a person is broke and bankrupt and they have nothing, but through the apparent gratuity of a banker, is allowed to borrow enough to get a fresh start on a credit. This person begins working using credit to rebuild an apparent business, but forgets perhaps that it is all a borrowed money, and thinks that he is doing quite well in this new thriving business, only to discover that after a while he is getting nowhere and his business activities are suffering further damage, and that he owns far more than he ever imagined he would owe, so that he is even deeper into debt now than he was at the time he borrowed the money to start his new business. So it says here, according to law, national debt is null and void. Essentially, they said, if this country is bankrupt several times over, and the only way that it can be made whole in a legal sense is when entities recognize that the law suggests that anything, any debt, any contract, any activity of partnership between entities which is based on fraud from the beginning is null and void. Null and void. In accordance with the law in the Western world, which has come down from Rome through England and into the United States, the law reads that any contract, any obligation, financial or otherwise, which is based on fraud and misinterpretation or illegal activity is null, and void from the beginning. Because the Federal Reserve Act was illegal according to the Constitution, and because the loaning of the money by an illegal foreign bank to the United States government and its people and project is based on a banking scam that was originally illegal, then the debts that were brought about from such loans are themselves illegal. With understanding, this national debt could be and should be declared null and void. And I hope you leaders of the United States of America that we vote for and look up after and rely our future on you. Our president, who is under the Federal Reserve Bank, leaders, we and our senators and Congress people, we elect you to do what's good for the people. And I hope you all wake up of this announcement from the higher realm. Okay, let me continue. The concept or theory behind the Hildebrand settlement. I don't know what is that. It says the concept or theory behind the Hildebrand settlement with the Federal Reserve Bank, and there are several other suits that have been brought against the Federal Reserve Bank based on similar or the same concept. The debts are falsified are originally based on misinterpretation and fraud. On the other hand, they appear to be real debts. Both the Federal Reserve Bank and the 13 super wealthy families of the world. The appearance is that which these families wish to continue. It is that which is creating the extreme urgency to bring the new world order. Before enough people awaken to the fraud, to stop the takeover of the country by those who perpetuated this fraud early in this century, and they use every means possible to continue and perpetuate this fraud. This is a good information to share to you, brothers and sisters. I know he might try to haunt me, but I'm not scared. Now that we know who we are, I know nothing will happen to me as long as I do not allow this thing to happen. It is all me. And if it's my choice to be the bearer of the light, to shine upon to your brothers and sisters what's going on in this world, time to awaken, for my job is to shine the lights on both sides. And it's good to know that we are in this level now, that people are awakening, and the angelic kingdom and all the forces all over the cosmos are here assisting us. So do not be scared, for this is their invisible jail and handcuffs on us. It is time for us to speak up, to speak of the truth and spread the light. I love you all, brothers and sisters. And I hope you spread this light too. And to our leaders, I hope and pray that you all wake up and unite before it's too late and you become nothing, before you perish. Because if you have no purpose, then they will just get rid of you. So let's all ask for our government to do their job that we vote them to do. I love you all, brothers and sisters.